श्रीशैलेशदयापात्रम् धीभक्त्यादिगुणार्णवम् यतीन्द्रप्रवणम् वन्दे रम्यजामातरम् मुनिम् लक्ष्मीनाथसमारम्भाम् नाथयामुनमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्ताम् वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् यो नित्यम् अच्युतपदाम्बुजयुग्मरुक्मव्यामोहतस्तदितराणि तृणाय मेने अस्मद्गुरोर्भगवतोऽस्य दयैकसिन्धोः रामानुजस्य चरणौ शरणम् प्रपद्ये लोकाचार्याय गुरवे कृष्णपादस्य सूनवे संसारभोगिसन्दष्टजीवजीवातवे नमः।
Asmad Gurubhyo Namaha, Asmad Paramagurubhyo Namaha, Asmad Sarvagurubhyo Namaha. So today we're going to continue on with our discussion of Sri Vacana Bhusanam by Pillai Lokacharya with a commentary by Manavala Mahamunigal. And last time we were talking about the scriptures and their prescriptive and proscriptive do's and don'ts or injunctions. And we were also talking about the different means that are described in the scripture by the Lord, like Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, and Bhakti Yoga, and how those things are actually, people who take to those paths, those paths actually involve a little bit of ego, false ego, because they to do those things means that we have to think that we are the doer and we are actually doing something separate, and they're not equivalent to property or just surrendering to the Lord. So and they actually go to perform them actually goes against the essential nature of the soul, the essential nature of the Jivatman, the essential nature of the Jivatman being to be completely and totally, utterly dependent upon the Lord. Okay, so now we come to Sutra 134. No, here we are. Sutra 134. Yeah. The glories of taking refuge. Going for refuge is free from all these deficiencies. So all these things that we talked about before, all these different deficiencies of Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, and Bhakti Yoga are not there in property. Now, we could say they're going to talk about a little bit about how there might be a small deficiency in property if you think property is a means. Because remember, we were talking about previously we were talking about how you control the mind and control the senses, and by controlling the mind and the senses, then you'll come in contact with an acharya, and the acharya will give you the mantra, and the mantra will Om Namo Narayana, the Astakshara mantra. The mantra will give you will be the method of doing property, and property will be the method of getting the Lord. But that's only they're only intermediate methods. The Lord Himself is the primary means for attaining moksha. And what is moksha? Moksha is just the service of the Lord in Vaikuntha. So property is a means, and it's very important, but it's an intermediate means. The Lord Himself is the primary means. So going to refuge is free from all these deficiencies. The only perceivable blemish is in regard to taking refuge as a means like the others. So in the beginning, when we first hear about property, we hear about how it's a separate upaya or a separate means to reach moksha or to reach the Lord. Then we think, and we hear it described, then we think, oh, it's easier and it's better and it's universal like that, and that it is the way. But it is not ultimately the way. The ultimate way is the Lord Himself. The ultimate method is the Lord Himself. So when we try to understand about property, we think that it's a way just like the other types of ways, right? That I have to do karma yoga. I have to do jnana yoga. I have to do bhakti yoga. And then I have to do surrender, I have to do property, and that's property yoga. It's a process just like the others. It's not just like the others. It is a process, but it's an intermediate. It's an intermediate method of actually getting to the Lord, and the Lord Himself is actually the real fire, the real main, main means of moksha. So property, text 135. Property arises from the realization of one's quintessence. Ramacharya uses this word quintessence. We can just say essence, essential nature. One's essence, and conforms to it. So it's really just a realization. Property is what? Does property depend upon us formally saying Tavasmi, like Rama says, you have to say, I am yours once only. Just once only, just say I'm yours. No, it doesn't actually depend. What if somebody's mute? What if somebody's not unable to speak? So it doesn't actually depend upon somebody saying something. It's just a realization. One comes to the realization that he is totally subservient and dependent on the Lord. That is property. That is property. So property arises from the realization of one's essence and conforms to it. It doesn't go against it in any way, whereas Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, and Bhakti Yoga go against it a little bit, because if we feel that we're totally dependent on the Lord, if we do something independent from the Lord by doing Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, and Bhakti Yoga, right? That means that we have that little bit of ego, that little bit of idea that we're a little bit independent from the Lord. It is thus easy. What is easy? Property. It's more easy than these other paths, since it is accomplished by letting go alone. So once again, I want to give the example of the drowning man. There's a person in the ocean and he's drowning, right? So material world is like an ocean, and there's somebody out there and he's drowning. So the drowning person, there's maybe so many different methods for him to try to save himself. You throw him a life ring, you tell him to grab a hold of this or do that or the other thing, and he may be able to save himself. He may be able to help him save himself. But property is where he just surrenders. The person says, I will save you, which is what Krishna says. Krishna says, Moksha yishyami masuchaha. Don't worry, I'll save you. He says, Masuchaha, don't worry. Moksha yishyami, I'll save you from the reactions of all sin, right? Sarva papebhyo, moksha yishyami. I will free you from the reactions to sarva papebhyo, all sinful activities. I will save you. Don't fear, right? So this is what the person trying to save the other person drowning says. Don't worry, I'll save you from whatever's happening. Whatever's going on, I'll save you. So just surrender, just relax, and it's very difficult to relax when you're hysterical. And people who actually understand how bad this material world is and how hellish it is, it may be difficult for them to just do property and just relax and just surrender. But what he's saying here is it's just simply letting go. So that's what we tell people who are drowning. We say, just let go. Well, Rama is also saying this. He's also saying, just say I'm yours and I'll save you. Don't worry. Like that. Just come to that realization. And once you come to that realization of the true nature of the soul, the essential nature of the soul, then he can save you. He can't save you otherwise. He's got to wait for you to do some karma yoga, jnana yoga, or bhakti yoga, and then he's going to try and save you. But if the drowning man, if you throw a life preserver to a drowning man, and you're not in the water to save him, then you're giving him instructions. You're telling him, hang on to this, try to do something like that. If he doesn't do it, then you have to jump in. Then you have to jump in and you have to go there. So if you want God to jump in and to actually save you, you have to give up your own efforts. That's the point. And why should you give up your own efforts? Because it's actually against the essential nature of the soul. So he says, As in the hymn, there is no need to be perplexed. So he's given a quote from a hymn, and that is Tiruvaimoli 9:1-7. So this is the hymn. Let me tell you in brief, O people of this sprawling world, there is no means for your liberation except to learn and abide in contemplation of the flawless traits of Krishna, our Lord, who in North Mathura was born. It is, or 'tis, indeed meritorious and would suffice. No need there is of practices tiresome and tedious. It's a very nice verse. So what does Krishna say in Bhagavad Gita? He says, Janma karma chame divyam. My birth and my activities are pure. They're purely transcendental and spiritual. They're divyam. And those persons who just remember them will come to me. Janma karma chame divyam evam yoviti tatpadaha chaktva deham punarjanma nayati mamiti so Arjuna. So Arjuna, you don't have to take birth again and suffer birth, death, disease, and old age. If you just remember my holy and transcendental spiritual activities and birth. Just remember them. Just contemplate on the flawless traits of Krishna, on his pure leelas and his what we say in Sri Vaishnavas always say, Ananta Kalyana Gunas, his unlimited auspicious qualities. And it's very interesting here. He says he was born in North Mathura. So, that doesn't mean a section of Mathura. That means that that is in South India. Normally they talk about Mathura being in the north, and there's another Mathura, which is just south of Sri Rangam, a place called Madurai. Madurai. Actually, Madurai is Maturai. It's the same in Tamil, Maturai, because D and T are the same letter. And I is usually they put I at the end of all Tamil words, just like in North India would be A. So Mathura, in South India, Maturai. So Maturai is just south of Sri Rangam. So just so people don't get mistaken and think that if he says Mathura, everybody think, oh, he's born in Madura. In Madurai. He wasn't born in Madurai. He was born in Mathura, the northern one. Similarly, there are some places which are considered to be the South Indian copy or sister city or sister place, of the North Indian place. Like Badrik Ashram is there, where Narayana Rishi spoke the Astakshara Om Namo Narayana mantra. And in South India, there's a place called Melkote, which is considered Dakshina Badrik Ashram in South India, right? So similarly, there are some other places also which are considered to be equivalent to the North Indian place. Granting that no effort is required on the part of the Prapana, does it not behoove him, it may be asked, to at least make some token offering to please the Lord? Okay, so here's a question. So you've just been told about property. Property's easy. In fact, it's so easy. All you have to do, you don't have to do anything. You just have to realize that you're totally dependent on the Lord, and that's it. So once you've been told that, you think, well, I can do more than that. I could actually do something. I could actually offer something to God in the way of service or in the way of, I could do some work, some karma, I could do some jnana, I could do some bhakti, I could do something, I could offer something. So it's a question. Doesn't the Prapana therefore think, okay, this is so easy, maybe I can also do something, right? Text number 136. As the subject is the perfect one, right? Meaning the Supreme Lord's perfect. Perfect in what way? In the Upanishads it says, Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate. He is the supreme whole. He's everything. He has everything. He's Atmarama. He's self-satisfied. So he has everything. He's like the emperor of the world. There's nothing he desires, right? All his wishes are fulfilled. So he's the perfect one. It is not possible to bring tribute worthy of his greatness. It's not possible to bring tribute worthy of his greatness. Again, I'll give you that story of Kuchala, Sudama Brahman, who was the classmate of Krishna in the Gurukula of Sandipani Muni, who was the guru of Lord Krishna. When Krishna and Balarama, they went to the Gurukula of this Rishi Sandipani. So they had a classmate, and he was a Brahmin. And he grew up. He became very poor, and he was very poor. And his wife said to him one day, "Why don't you know Krishna, who lives in Dwarka, who's a great king and emperor? Why don't you go and ask him to help us out, because we have nothing. You know, we're very poor." And Kuchala thought, "Well, I'll go. I can go." He didn't want to go and ask for anything. Which is the way the Prapana feels. We don't want to ask anything from God. But his wife said, "No, you have." He thought, "I have to take something. I have to take something." So the only thing that they had was puffed rice, which is very simple food, very cheap food in India. If anybody's ever had some puffed rice snack in India, they make it, you know, in the street and things like that. They'll get some puffed rice and they'll put some peanuts and some different things in there and mix some spices with it and give it to you in a little paper cone. It's very cheap, a couple of rupees, and you can buy that. So this poor Brahmin, he went to the palace of Lord Krishna in Dwarka, and he went there and was asking, basically because his wife was asking him to ask Krishna for to help them out, you know, because they're so poor. And Krishna, he was even afraid to show that to Krishna, because he thought like this. He thought like this: Krishna is so great. What I can offer him is very meager. It's very little. So he was actually ashamed to show. He had brought the puff rice and he was hiding it. And Krishna said, "What was that? What is it that you've got? You know, give it to me." And he and Rukmini, they ate that and they thought that was great. They accepted the love and devotion, right? Just in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, "Patram pushpam phalam toyam." Patram, a leaf, means a tulsi leaf, or could be some other type of leaf, I guess, edible leaf. Phalam, patram pushpam. Patram pushpam, flower, right? Phalam, a fruit, right? Toyam, water, simple water, right? Just not a drink, just plain water. Krishna says, if you offer it to me with love and devotion, he says, tadaham bhakti upahrityam. With bhakti, if you offer it to me with love and devotion, this is in the 9th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, 9:26 or something. He said, if you offer this to me with love and devotion, I'll accept it. And then what's Krishna want? He wants the love and devotion. He wants the devotion. He wants the sincerity. He wants the person to accept their position, to understand their real nature. He doesn't care about the fruit and the flower and the leaf and the water, really. Still, we can offer things to God. Why do we offer fruit? Why do we offer food to God? Why do we offer things to God? Well, we offer food to God because we need to eat. He doesn't need to eat. We need to eat. And we need to purify what we eat. We need to purify what we smell. We need to purify what we drink. So that's why we offer it to God. It's all His anyway, just like we're also His. But we offer it so to purify it. And here, the point is, the main point to be taken away from here is that there isn't anything that He doesn't own anyway, or he doesn't have any desires. He doesn't have any need for anything. So it's not possible to give Him something which is worthy tribute. Sometimes a great emperor would ask for all the people all the kings, the lower kings, and even the citizens to come and give him tribute. So the lower kings would come and they'd bring riches and gold and different things. And the people who are poor would come and give whatever they could. They'd give something very, small, right? Like sometimes we hear the story that a child comes to the class and gives an apple to the teacher. In the Gurukul system, the children, they collect firewood for the guru. Because why? Because he's doing sacrifices, so he needs some firewood. So they collect firewood and they bring firewood to him, which is very, and he gives them knowledge, which is most useful. And they just pick a few sticks up and give it to him. So it's not possible to give a worthy tribute to the perfect one, right? As the subject is the perfect one, it's not possible to bring a tribute worthy of his greatness. There is no offering or act of contrition which could do justice to the majesty and grandeur of the Lord. So, Sutra 137, the Lord is delighted by the slightest gesture of returning to him. What does make the Lord happy? What makes the Lord happy, as in that Bhagavad Gita's verse, Tadaham Bhakti, the bhakti, devotion makes him happy, right? In this case, the recognition that one is completely dependent on the Lord, that makes him happy. When I'm going to try to save somebody who's drowning, if that person fights me, that doesn't make me that makes me a little bit unhappy. If that person tries to save himself, that makes me unhappy. And I just have to wait until that person's finished thrashing around, until that person is completely finished, right? He's completely exhausted, right? Then I can save him. That's when I can save that person. So the same thing with the Lord. He's waiting for us to surrender, to just give up, to realize that we are totally dependent on him, and then he'll save us. Like that. So the Lord is delighted by that. He's delighted by that. He's delighted by that surrender, and not by anything else that we could offer him. Not by any amount of chanting of mantras or doing of pujas or offering of sacrifices or learning of scriptures or doing of work and offering the fruits of the work to him. Not by any of those things is he really happy, because he has everything already. What he doesn't have is he doesn't have your surrender, your submission. So that's what pleases him, your submission, your realization that you're totally dependent on him, right? You have no choice. That's your nature. The mere fact that the Chaitanya, or the sentient being, which has been immersed in samsara for so many eons, so many millions of births, has at last turned towards him, the Lord, causes the Lord immeasurable delight, right? Even if we lose our cell phone, right? We find it again after one day or something like that. We're very happy. The cell phone doesn't have to do anything. We're just happy that we found it, right? So, text 138, the Lord's perfection lies in seizing the jiva, seizing the soul, not in withdrawal from the jiva. Because the Lord is perfect and fulfilled in all respects, there's no question of him desiring anything from the jiva. We don't need anything. He doesn't need anything from us. If we want to stay in this material world, we can. If we want to continue to try and do different things like karma yoga, jnana yoga, and bhakti yoga to reach him, yeah, we can do that too. If we want to try to save ourselves from drowning, yeah, he's given us methods where we can do that in the scriptures. Simply the change of attitude of the errant jiva, of the person who is drowning in this material world, is quite enough to cause the Lord to greedily pounce upon the jiva and liberate it from samsara, grasping the long-sought opportunity. So he's been waiting for this for a long time. He's been waiting for He loves us, and he's waiting for us just to recognize that we're totally subservient on him. And then so just like I said, when when you're trying to save somebody from drowning, you're waiting for them to stop, to be totally exhausted. They're hysterically trying to save themselves, and they can't do it. And once they realize they can't do it, then they have to put themselves totally in your hands, and they have to totally go limp, and then you can save them. So again, this verse is going to be quoted in 139. Patram Pushpam is the first two lines from this verse in Bhagavad Gita. And Anyat Purna, right? There's some other verses that are being quoted. So the statement just gives a few words from each one, and we'll discuss each one. A leaf, a flower, right? Other than a pot full of water, incense and flowers suffice. These are the three quotes in text 139. So Bhagavad Gita 9:26, whoever offers to me with devotion a leaf, a flower, fruit, water, I accept with joy this offering made with devotion by one who is pure-minded. Hearing that Krishna was about to pay a visit, Dhritarashtra, right, the king and the father of Duryodhana and the Kurus, who were cousins of the Pandavas, desiring to curry favor with him, proposed to offer him gold, land, etc. Sanjaya, however, who was the minister of Dhritarashtra, disabused the old king by declaring, and this is from Mahabharata, Janardana, meaning Krishna, desires nothing other than a pot full of water, the washing of his feet, an inquiry about his welfare. When a guest comes to your house, and this is in most societies, especially in India, you always offer them water, right? They might need to drink some water, or they might need water for other purposes. Maybe they're hot, they sprinkle some water on themselves, or at least wash their hands and feet, maybe their mouth. And you inquire about how are you, about their welfare. And this is from Mahabharata, Udyoga Parva, 86:16. So what Sanjaya, the minister of Dhritarashtra, was telling Dhritarashtra is, you think that, Krishna's coming to you, he's an emissary from the Pandavas, and this whole, maybe we can avoid this whole war, this Mahabharata war. And Dhritarashtra was thinking, okay, so in order to bribe Krishna or get Krishna to do something or put forward our case to the Pandavas, right? Maybe I can give him land, I can give him gold. I'm a king, I can give him lots of things. And Sanjaya is saying, no, Krishna's not like that. He's going to be impartial, and all he requires is that you just give him simple courtesy or simple hospitality of offering some water, washing his feet, and inquiring about his welfare. Right. So this is the point that sometimes we think that God needs us to do all these things. God needs us to work hard and to offer all the fruits to him, karma yoga. God needs us to study all the scriptures and to really understand everything and academically and do all these things. He needs us to perform these different yagyas and sacrifices and pujas and all these different acts of devotion and japas and all these things. He needs all these things for us to do. No, he doesn't. He doesn't need all these things. Right? He just needs something very simple, which is for us to realize who we are, essentially, his servants. And that's enough. That delights him completely because it gives him a chance to save us. And the third quote here in Sutra 139 is also from Tiruvai 161. O people who have the resolve to realize your self-nature in full measure by praising the Lord who is free from all miseries. If you want to avoid separation from him, sprinkling good water and offering incense and flowers will suffice. So a very simple offering will suffice, right? As God hates hypocrisy and values only the sincerity of the devotee, one could offer any flower or leaf, or even, in the commentary it says, even burn garbage and offer the smoke as incense. So, we naturally don't, when we're worshiping the deity or when we're offering things to God, we don't go out of our way to offer bad foods or things that are a little bit spoiled or smoke from garbage and fires. Okay, but the point here is it doesn't really matter what we're offering. It's the sincerity with which we offer it. So there's a saying in English, it's the thought that counts, like that. Sometimes we're offering something. The example is also given of the father's birthday. In a family, there'll be a father and a mother, and the father has a birthday or it's Father's Day, and the children want to get something for the father. Sometimes they even ask the father, "Please, can you give me some money?" Because they don't have any money. The kids ask, "Can you give me some money? I want to buy you a present for your birthday or for Father's Day." What do they get from the mother? They get some money. Somehow or other, the kids get some money, and they get an idea, and they offer something to the father. Typically they buy a tie for the father. He's got plenty of ties. He's got so many things. He doesn't need the children to take his money and buy him something which he already has, but he still loves it, even if it's not the style of tie or the type of gift that he would like. But it's the thought that counts, the offering of the thing which is important, right? So similarly, the offering of the soul is simply the recognition that is dependent on the Lord. And that is what really excites the Lord, and that's what really delights the Lord. He likes that, to save the soul, to regain something which is his. It doesn't, all these other things are not important, So a simple flower, simple leaf, some simple incense. This is what's being said. In Sutra 140, he says, like showing grass to a cow. Here's an example. Showing grass to a cow, having called it, and when it comes, giving it the same grass, there's no difference between the ends and the means. So sometimes we think the means and the ends are different, but actually, they're the same. The end is the Lord, the means is the Lord. So here, giving an analogy. The analogy is there's a cow, and the cow wants some grass. So you take some grass in your hand, and you show it to the cow, and the cow gets attracted to coming towards you. And when the cow comes towards you, you give the same grass to the cow. So the means of getting the cow to come over there, the means of feeding the cow, is by attracting it with the grass. And then the end is actually giving it the grass, and it's eating the grass. So in both cases, the grass is the means, and the grass is the end. So similarly, in property, the Lord is the means and the Lord is the end. The disparity between means and ends was pointed out as one of the cardinal flaws of taking up other means. And the Sanskrit word for other means is upaya antara. Antara means other means. Upaya means means. In the case of surrender, there's no such disparity between the means and the end, as they are coincidental, right? Like beckoning to a cow, right, with a mere show of a hand, holding a few blades of grass, and then feeding it the same when it comes close. So a simple analogy. 141. Therefore, surrender itself is enjoyable. Surrender is enjoyable. Why? Because there's no effort involved in it. There's simply realization involved. Therefore, the Lord, who was instrumental in weaning the Chaitanya or sentient being away from the material nature by revealing his auspicious qualities and immaculate beauty, right? We're attracted by the Lord, by the Lord's philosophy, by the Lord's beautiful form, by his great leelas, his so many things about the Lord which are attractive. The word Krishna means karshati in Sanskrit, means to draw or attract. The one who's all attractive is Krishna. By his auspicious qualities and immaculate beauty, also becomes the object of enjoyment in the final state of liberation. Right? So the Lord is the means and the Lord is the goal. The process of surrendering is therefore enjoyable throughout. So it's enjoyable to serve God here and to serve God there in Vaikuntha Rasa. The process is not a horrible process of self-mortification, of tapasya, extreme austerity, of so many of these things, which it's actually enjoyable. Okay, so then 142. When this Chaitanya or this sentient being decides to return to him, the Lord, surrender is not a means. Surrender is not a means. So when it says surrender is not a means, it means surrender is not the primary means. The Lord is the primary means, and this is the meaning of this whole section here. The glories of taking refuge of property. The glories of property. Yes, what is property? Property is not a means in the sense of being a primary means. It's an initial means. It's a subsidiary means. Right? Self-surrender and submission to the Lord's protection does not constitute the method of winning the Lord. Right? You can surrender to somebody. Sometimes you see these. Sometimes there's some war film or something like that, and you see the people surrender, and even though they surrender, the enemy still kills them. So we're not sure. We're not sure, even if we surrender to the Lord, what he's going to do. He could be a tyrant and just kill us, and just, cast us down because of being so sinful. But he actually does promise to save us. So when the Chaitanya decides to return to the Lord, surrender is not a means self-surrender and submission to the Lord's protection does not constitute in itself the method of winning the Lord. It only means that the subject has ceased to struggle and fight and has submitted to the redemptive grace of the Lord instead of hampering it by his own self-effort at liberation through Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, and Bhakti Yoga. The Jivatman in the Lord's emanation, the Jivatman is the Lord's emanation or mode or prakara. Everything is the Lord's emanation. Everything emanates from God. Prasha Shakti Vividaya Shruyate Janmadya Syayataha in the Vedanta Sutra says that from which everything emanates is the Lord. Yatolva Imani Bhutani Jayante, and Taittiriya Upanishad also says the same thing. From which everything emanates, by which everything is maintained, and into which everything enters, that is Brahman. That is the Supreme. That is the Lord, Sriman Narayana. If the subject resorts to property thinking that obtaining the Lord is his own personal gain, then it is misconceived. It is a misconceived sense of personal importance. A misconceived of his own personal importance, and all the merit of property will be lost. Right? So we have to think, okay, it was stated before, in one of the sutras, it was stated before that the the person who gains from property, who gains from the jiva returning to the service of the Lord. It's the Lord who gains. We can't say that the slave gains, that the servant gains. Okay, the servant does gain because we get out of this material world and we go to Vaikuntha and we serve the Lord and we're in complete bliss and knowledge. But it's more important, he gains his property back. Just like I said, if you lose something and you find it again, you're happy. It doesn't matter what the property itself is inanimate and is insignificant. So the jiva, in one sense, is insignificant. And we don't, if the jiva thinks, oh, this is my gain, moksha is my gain, like that, again, this involves an over sense of personal importance of the jiva and false ego. So the jiva shouldn't feel like that. He shouldn't think like that. He should think this is the gain. This is a gain for Sriman Narayana. So this is the end of this section. Was there any questions about this section of Sri Vacana Bhusanam before we end the class today? About the glory of taking refuge or the glory of property?
No, Swami, I think it's very clear.
Yeah.
The verse that came to mind was Bahunam Janmanam Ante Jnanavan Mam Prapadre. Would you say that also is exactly what that section has described? Is exactly what Lord Krishna is saying there too, that to understand that he is everything. That's exactly it, isn't it?
He's everything, and we're nothing. But we are of him. We are of him. Even the great Upanishadic saying, Aham Brahmasmi. We are of him. Or Tattvamasi, Tattvamasi can be interpreted. Tattvam can be interpreted as a compound, which we call in Sanskrit a Shasti Tat Purusha compound. Or it instead of Tat, Tattvam. Tvam means you, Tat means that. That thou art is usually what they translate as Tattvamasi, right? Tat, but Tat, the word Tat, in the first word in a compound doesn't have any ending in Sanskrit. Only the last word has the ending, the grammatical ending. So you have to, when you break the compound, you have to suggest what the ending is for the first one. And we suggest that tat becomes tasya. Tasya is genitive and it means of him. So you are of him. You are of him. You are a servant of him. You are a slave of him. You are completely dependent upon him. So Tattvamasi means that. Aham Brahmasmi means I am of Brahman. I am his. Yeah, I'm also spiritual. It also means I'm spiritual. And so, so Vasudeva Savamiti is what you quoted. Vasudeva Savamiti. Vasudeva is everything. Yes, he's the supreme. He's the whole world. Sarira Shariri Bhava of Ramanuja. His idea that the universe is the body of God. So yes, everything is him, and everything belongs to him, and therefore we belong to him. And simply recognition of that, when we understand that he's everything, then we understand things as it is. Things as it is. We are of him. We are completely subservient and dependent upon him. When we understand him, that is property. That is property. So you're right. That also can be seen like that. In fact, there's a lot of slokas in Bhagavad Gita which you can interpret to mean property. But if you don't know about property, if you don't think property is separate from Kama Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, then you won't see that. You have to come to that realization. Yeah? Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.